Hello one and all, I'm DC Wood reviewing the Arrowverse, 20 episodes in, and today we are now looking at Arrow Season 6. Right, Arrow was renewed for a 6th season on 8th of January 2017, with the premiere airing on 12th of October that year. Season 6 spanned for another 23 episodes, with the finale airing on the 17th of May 2018. Arrow's 5th season saw the culmination of Oliver Queen's 5-year flashback saga and his transformation from survivor to killer to warrior to vigilante to hero come full circle. However, in a fiery final confrontation with arch-nemesis Prometheus, aka Adrian Chase, Oliver Queen could only watch as Leon knew the island he was once shipwrecked on for years in exile was consumed by explosions triggered by Chase's suicide, leaving the fate of all of Oliver's loved ones hanging in the balance. 5 months later, the Green Arrow is still trying to pick up the pieces of his life after the Prometheus saga. Team Arrow is still trying to save Star City from crime and corruption, but the team themselves are still dealing with their own scars and traumas, again thanks to Prometheus. And Oliver Queen is still mayor, trying to fulfill his duties in office, but now fate has dealt him with a new responsibility: William Clayton. With William's mother now deceased, Oliver now has to be a father for the first time in his life. Can he cope with the pressures of parenthood? Can he still be someone else? Something else? And what new threats will emerge to destroy everything Oliver Queen has done? Okay, I'll be honest straight away, I was really looking forward to Season 6. Arrow Season 5, as I've said before, was amazing. After a half great, half not great Season 3 and a bloody awful Season 4, Season 5 was so terrific that it redeemed this show. It put it right back on course as one of the most enthralling and in-depth superhero shows, one of the best TV shows of all time. So Season 6 should have followed up on that. It couldn't have had any more momentum, especially after the epic Season 5 finale, Leon Yu, the best Arrow episode ever. Sadly, annoyingly, Season 6 fails to capitalise on the foundations that Season 5 gave it. In fact, Season 6 takes forever to get going. I'll go into full details when discussing the cons later on, but despite Arrow 6 bringing the show right back to square one, there's still a lot of great stuff to be found here. As always, Blake Neely produces another perfect score for this show and the other shows. The fight scenes, the choreography, the direction, the production values, all are as fantastic as ever. The cast are as great as ever. And Rick Gonzalez, aka Rene Ramirez, Wild Dog, and Juliana Harkavy, aka Dinah Drake, the Black Canary, they've been promoted to new series regulars after Season 5. They were fantastic additions to the team in Season 5, and I'm really pleased that they were promoted for Season 6. Rick and Juliana justify their standing, proving themselves as part of a family with their performances throughout. Stephen Amell continues to excel as the show's lead, despite already cementing his legacy in Season 5 as an amazing actor. Here, Oliver Queen continues to be developed strongly through his relationship with his son William, Jack Moore. The responsibilities of parenthood proved to be a huge challenge for Oliver, especially given that Oliver didn't even know about the existence of his son until season 4, and that William initially blames his dad for his mother's death. But over the course of season 6, the two do become close, and Oliver tries so hard to be the father that William needs. Other great points, Dig gets a good subplot in season 6, struggling to deal with his own injuries and traumas from the Prometheus conflict. He actually takes on the role of the Green Arrow for a time. We get to see Roy Harper come back for a couple of episodes as well, which is great. Nyssa also returns as well. Thea is mostly sidelined for season 6, which is annoying, but I'm pleased that she and Speedy get a good send-off later on here. Katie Cassidy is back on the regular cast as the Earth 2 version of Laura Lance, aka the villainous Black Siren. As I've said before, killing off the original Laura Lance from Earth 1 was the single worst thing that Arrow ever did. It was a stupid decision, and I don't think I'll ever entirely get over it. However, this Laurel gets a fantastic arc which sees her slowly turn towards the side of good, and she gets a great story arc with Quentin. Speaking of whom, we also have to say goodbye to Paul Blackthorne as Quentin Lance. Quentin bows out of a show in a blaze of glory. It's really, really sad to see Paul go after everything he's done on this show, but he does get a terrific exit in the finale. Deathstroke is also back following his return in the season 5 finale. Arrow's greatest villain returns in the season premiere, and then also shows up in the terrific Deathstroke Returns Promises Kept two-parter. This serves as the swan song for Slade Wilson and Manu Bennett in the show, and the Arrowverse as well. There's an absolutely glorious hallway fight sequence in Deathstroke Returns. It's one of the greatest fight scenes ever in the show. And it's a great two-parter overall for revealing more of Slade's past and what happened after his time on Leon Yu. I would have dearly loved to have seen Slade and Manu come back one last time for Season 8 and Crisis on Infinite Earths. But as send-offs go, this is a worthy exit for one of the Arrowverse's top 2 villains, and it's a fitting end to his story. Of course, Crisis on Earth X, as I've said before, as I've talked about loads of times, it's virtually faultless. The crossover that brings Arrow, Flash, Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow together in one of the most epic events of all time. It also sees Oliver and Felicity finally tie the knot, and after how terrible their romance was handled in seasons 3 and 4, it's great that Oliver and Felicity's relationship is finally portrayed as it should have been after season 2. Finally, when season 6 finally gets its act together in the last third of the season, the last batch of episodes are absolutely amazing. We're talking season 5 level of quality here, as Oliver's life, reputation, team, mayorship and vigilantism all come crumbling down around him. The dragon, Ricardo Diaz, a deliciously menacing Kirk Acevedo, rises. What makes Diaz a refreshing villain is not the way he systematically, strategically takes apart everything Oliver has gained and built, but his motivation for doing so. Unlike previous big bads who wanted to destroy Oliver out of personal vendetta or ended up becoming personal, Diaz wants to dismantle and control all of Star City purely for business reasons. As a ruthless crime lord, Ricardo sees the Green Arrow as a nuisance to his goals and nothing more. The Dragon is a superb episode for exploring Diaz's origins and motivations, and the last third of this season, as I said, snowballs towards a devastating end. There are there's a string of fantastic episodes here which make Arrow amazing again, such as The Dragon and docket number 11, 19, 41, 73, which sees Oliver go on trial in one of the most well-plotted, tense and creative episodes ever. It's certainly in my top 10 episodes of Arrow. And of course, Life Sentence, which is a terrific finale, which really does change Oliver's world all over again. After all these years, Oliver finally pays the price for his life as the Green Arrow, and while Diaz's empire finally crumbles, Oliver's loved ones can only watch him go to prison. It's a shocking conclusion that does make you want to tune in for season 7. As I said earlier, Arrow 6, season 6 should have been amazing from the get-go after season 5 offered a return to form for this show. Instead, it falters, with season 5 perfectly culminating the flashback saga. After these 5 years, the opportunity was there to take Arrow in an exciting new direction, and the writers didn't know how to fill that void. It would at least be until season 7 when they produced the Flash Forward storyline. It's not just the void left behind by the flashback saga that haunts season 6, it's the struggle to top the epic Prometheus saga or even follow it. Josh Segarra's Adrian Chase was one of the top 2 villains of this show, as well as being in my top 3 Arrowverse villains, period. Whilst Ricardo Diaz is a terrific antagonist for season 6, we have to wait so long until we get to him. When it's revealed that he's been manipulating a load of other villains to clear the field for him, such as Caden James. Caden James is such a banal, cliched villain who blames Oliver for his son's death. Does that sound familiar? And whilst it's interesting to have a leader of a hacktivist organisation wreak havoc on the Green Arrow's life, Caden James really doesn't compare to the likes of the Dark Archer, Deathstroke, Ra's al Ghul, Damien Dark, Prometheus, or the Dragon. When it's revealed that Caden's ultimately a puppet for Diaz, you actually rejoice that the season finally kicks into a higher gear. And that's a shame, because the character of Caden James is ultimately a waste of Michael Emerson's talents. Other problems include the character Vigilante. Now, this was a really good subplot back in season 5, and I was in favour of the creative team deliberately keeping his identity a secret until season 6, as it was all the more reason to stay tuned. But the revelation of Vigilante's identity, Dinah's old flame, Vincent Sobel, revealed to be alive and a metahuman thanks to the Flash's particle accelerator explosion, this was shocking and satisfying. The problem is, Vincent ultimately turns out to be another plot device, one that's just used to further develop Dinah's character. Ultimately, this makes the Vigilante subplot another dud. There are 2 things in particular, though, that really grate at me. The first is, again, this season's inability to follow up on season 5's greatness. The season premiere, Fallout, really fails to explore the ramifications of the Prometheus conflict. When I compare this season premiere to, say, The Flash season 2's follow-up from season 1, or Supergirl season 3's follow-up from season 2, there's no contest. Fallout is an average episode, and it sets the tone for 2/3 of season 6. Not only that, but there's an atrocious batch of episodes and character moments throughout most of season 6, to the point where the overall writing quality somehow is even worse than Arrow season 4. A lot of that has to do with my second biggest gripe about season 6, the Team Arrow Civil War. Now, this subplot sees the seeds being sown for the original team members, Oliver, Diggle and Felicity, having a massive fallout with the new guys, Renee, Curtis and Dinah. Taking the premise of Captain America Civil War and adapting it for Arrow, not a bad idea. But why that idea worked so well for Marvel was a clear-cut premise. Register as government operatives or face the consequences. Both sides of heroes had their own reasons for and against the idea of superhero registration. It made for fascinating debate and a simple, effective reason for creating conflict within the good guys. In contrast, the Team Arrow Civil War, it's just a mess. Granted, it was all staged by Diaz so he could effectively take control of Star City, but the infighting between Oliver and company is so artificial and forced, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And everyone here, Oliver, Felicity, Diggle, Dinah, Renee and Curtis, all of them act like such hypocrites, constantly hurting each other throughout, that you've no sympathy for any of them. This subplot drags on so much, and the only real conflict that makes any sense is when Oliver and Diggle's emotions boil over and they come to blows in one of the best moments of the entire show. But that's the only saving grace from the whole thing. And as I've said, it's literally in the last 7 episodes when things dramatically improve and Arrow's back to being great again. What a chore it is to get there. So, while Arrow Season 6 doesn't end up being the single worst season in Arrow or the entire Arrowverse, it comes so close to being even worse than Season 4. And it's only in the final third where Arrow Season 6 manages to get its act together and get back to the calibre we all know and love. And that's what makes Arrow Season 6 the most frustrating outing here. There's still awesome stuff like Crisis on Earth X, there's still Deathstroke, there's still a brilliant endgame that reminds you of the show's glory days. But when Arrow Season 5 had done so much to make you love the show again, this 6th season really doesn't do any favours. Thankfully, Season 7 does get the show right back on course, and Season 8 definitely gives Arrow the ending it deserves. But this, I'm sorry, overall rating 5 out of 10. So, what do you guys think of Arrow Season 6? As always, I love discussing with you guys. Please comment, please click like and subscribe. Next time, I will be reviewing Season 1 of Freedom Fighters The Ray. Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye-bye. See you again soon.